Okay, so this is what we're going to paint, and to start out with, and we're going to dive right in because it's not super complicated, but it does have a little bit of work associated with it. So the first thing you're going to do is take the tape, and what we're using the tape for is we're going to tape off these tree trunks. And then we're going to paint all the rest of it, and then at the end we pull off the tape off of here and paint the trees in. That way we don't have to spend a lot of time trying to cover up the background when we paint those light colored trees in there. So what I want you to do is take your tape and you measure it so that it's as tall as the canvas is, and rip it off. And I don't want you to, and the reason I said for you to have some scissors too was so that you can, we don't want to do just a straight, we don't want our trees to all be the same. Yeah, we don't want our trees to all be the same width. So we want to just kind of cut the tape a little bit off on one side. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, just make it a little skinnier. So if you can, make it so that your tree trunks are like 3 different sizes. And just put it where you want your tree to be. I'm going to have one tree kind of go in this direction. Let's see, the tape's a little skinnier at that end, so I'll go like this, put the thicker end at the back. So we're going to make 3 trees. And see, it's a little wonky where I cut it. I don't care, because tree trunks are a little wonky too. You can do that. Just put it down, and then do one more over on the other side. And that one you can just about, you know, just use your tape. You don't really need to do too much to it. I wouldn't make it go up in a totally straight line though. Have it kind of, these are like aspen trees. So what we're going to do now that you got your tape down is we're going to do the sky. Sky's going to come down about, you can make it about halfway. And we're going to start with just regular blue and add white to it and make it lighter as we go down. No clouds or anything, okay? So nothing fancy here, see? It's just sky straight through. So what you're going to do is, so you're just going to start the sky up here. You're going to do blue, and then you're going to add white to it. And you're just going to streak it. Go right over the tape. Act like the tape isn't even there. And we're going to put this sky in fairly quickly. What we want to try and have is kind of a bright blue sky like you get sometimes in the fall. It's almost white. So we want to make it, as we go down toward the bottom, make it as light as you can, almost a white color. Just keep adding white to the blue as you go down. Blue's pretty strong. So just add as you go down. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of streakiness in it. The sky's really just background in this painting, so there's no clouds or anything, or at least not any that we're putting in there on purpose. Because you can make paintings too busy, you know. If you start adding too much stuff to them, then your eye doesn't know where to go when it's looking at the painting. Now we can go on and do the mountains even while your sky's still wet. You can't tell it by looking at the picture with the trees and everything in it, but there's actually a mountain here, and then one here, and then another one here. So we're just gonna paint some mountains in, and they're gonna be a light purple. So if you have your light blue color, just add a tiny bit of red to it. Just barely touch your brush into the red, because you want it to be until you get a light purple color. And then what we're going to do, you don't want it to be too blue because it'll blend in with the sky too much. So you do want to have a purple color to it. Yep, add a tiny bit of red to it, to your light blue color. And then you're just gonna sketch in your mountains. Now you can make your mountains whatever shape you want. I'm just gonna do mine, and you can do yours however you want to. Don't make them all the same height though, and try to, you know, make a little bit of interesting shape with them. So you're just going to brush them in like this. And if they're a little streaky, it's okay, because mountains have different shadows and crags and stuff like that in them, so that doesn't matter. Now you see how I'm correcting my mountain. I ended up with them too far over into the trees because I want to have them showing with a little bit of snow on top. I don't want that to be wiped out, so I'm going to move him over a little bit like this, and we'll just leave the other one back here in the background. And you can, to make it interesting, you can also streak in some, you know, dip your brush a little bit in the red and in the blue colors and just make them a little bit, look a little bit interesting. And then this one's going to be a lower one in front, I think. And don't worry, you can use kind of thick paint, it doesn't matter. What you'll find is that this kind of painting is actually very easy to do. It's all about layers and about getting stuff in. Okay, my mountains are a little too light, so I'm going to make them darker because I want them to stand out against the sky. So if your mountains aren't a good color, just make them darker. Just add a little more red and a little more purple to your, or blue to your color, and make it darker. Don't worry about finishing the bottom of your mountain because it's going to be covered up with trees. So you're just coming down. You see how messy mine is down toward the bottom? That doesn't matter. Remember, these mountains are also going to be in the background behind the trees, except for the ones right in the middle. So you need to spend your time getting the ones in the middle so that they are a little more distinct. Because the two side ones are there, but they're going to be hardly visible behind the trees. So I'm just adding a little more color here. See, by keeping these mountains a little bit lighter in color, we're pushing them back into the distance. Even though they're kind of big, they're going to be kind of far away. Now here's where, if you have green, you can use it, but you will want to darken it down a little bit. If you don't have green, we're going to make green with yellow and black, using our famous yellow and black combination. And this first row of trees in the back is going to be kind of light because they're the furthest row back is a little bit darker. Now these trees are done in about 3 layers. So let's see here. So you can see how the ones in the back are lighter. So that means what you want to do is start with your yellow color. Hold on, I'll show you. I need to switch to a brush. You need to switch to your medium brush now, if you haven't already. You're going to start with yellow, and you're going to add a tiny bit of black to it. Not much, just a tiny bit, like this. So it should get a nice light green. If you have your own green color, like Nancy, you said you did, I would just add some yellow to it. Make it a little more yellow. And then I want you to do something we don't usually do, and that is take a little bit of white and put it in there too. We want to make these look like they're way back in the distance. Okay, so what you're going to do with these trees, with the first row of trees, and you want to start up above where you ended your mountains, is you just want to do like this with your brush. You're going to turn it sideways, and you're going to go like this. Up and down, like this. All the way across your painting. Don't worry if it blends in a little bit with your mountain. If your mountain's still wet like mine is, that's fine. But you want to go all the way across. And don't worry about getting your tree, the tops of your trees exactly right now. We're just sketching them in. We'll come back and add a little more detail to them in a minute. So you're using this light green. Make it come down like the trees are on a hill a little bit maybe. But this is all you have to do trees in the distance. You see how easy that is? And it already starts looking like trees. Just paint across your tape like it's not even there. Don't worry about it. Just keep your motion going till you go all the way to the edge of the canvas. And if you have to come back and add a little more paint like I'm doing here, that's fine. It just adds a little more dimension to it. Okay, now these are the far distant trees. So then you're going to come back and you're going to take your brush and you're just going to flick every so often. You're just going to make it go up a little bit, your color, just so that it looks like you have treetops back there. So don't do it all everywhere, but just some areas you're going to have some taller trees. So you just go in and just make them a little bit taller, like this. This is your far distant row of trees. Okay, so once you've got that back row in, what you're going to do is you're going to take black and a tiny bit, and you're going to add it to your existing green, and you want to get a darker green. And what I would do this time, which we don't usually do when we're mixing colors or mixing green, is I would add a little bit of blue. The reason I'm adding more blue to this is because I want it to be a little bit brighter green than just the black and the yellow together. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to do another layer of trees right in front of these. Don't worry if you, and don't make them exactly the same shape as the ones up there. Now you have these trees, and you're starting to get a little more dimension here. Okay, so you see what that looks like now, and then you do the same thing. You just go back in here and just make some of the trees a little more distinct. The tops of some of the trees a little more. And if you want to at this point, you can even take a little bit of yellow and just put it along the sides of some of the trees like this, so that it makes them stand, well, I'm not putting enough yellow, so that it makes them stand out a little bit. So you want to put a little bit of yellow on there, see? So you get some differences in your trees a little bit. Like the sunlight is hitting them somewhat. So you just want to put a little bit of yellow in there on them and make it go up. And so just work your way across one more time. Let me hold it up closer so you can maybe see what I'm doing. Let's see here. So when you're going along here, just take your brush and just go up like this, just up along the, yeah, just up. And don't worry if you've got, if it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, it doesn't need to, but you just make it go up, and that gives you an irregular tree line, which is what you're looking for. You want an irregular looking tree line. So just do that. Just do it real quick. It's not a complicated stroke at all. Just stroke and lift, stroke and lift, stroke and lift. We've done that stroke before in class, where you just stroke it and lift it up at the end. That's kind of what you're doing here. Okay. So you can finish up your trees. We're going to move on to the water and get started on it. I'm watching my watch here. Okay, we're doing good. So we're going to mix up some turquoise. If you have turquoise, you can go ahead and use it. If you don't, we're going to mix some up to use for the water. And remember, to make turquoise, we're going to mix blue and yellow and white. So let me get my right brush here. I think I'm going to use my big brush for the water. So you're going to take yellow, and blue, and see how I'm starting to get kind of a turquoise color. It's dark. I don't want it quite that dark, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. So it's yellow and blue and white. Yellow, blue, and white. Yep. It'll give you kind of a green color. So what you want to do is, if it's too yellow, just add a little more blue to it. If it's too blue, add a little more yellow to it, and then add white. And then we're going to put in our water, and our water is going to go right up to the edge of the trees. It's going to go right up here, so you just go right up to the edge of the trees like that. And then just come across. You can make it irregular. It doesn't have to be totally a straight line, because it's a lake, so the edge is going to kind of come in and out a little bit. Some of the trees will be down a little lower than some of the other trees. Okay, and then you're just going to streak in your water with this color, and as you're doing it, you can go in and you can add some blue into it, because you want to make it so that it looks different colors. So it's mostly turquoise, but you can add a little bit of white to the turquoise so that you get some nice streaks in there. See, it's just very basic, just like the sky was. You know how sometimes some parts of water looks kind of white because of the way the light's reflecting on it. So I did that. You can just kind of block it in. We'll come back later and add the white, more white when it's not so wet. Now this is where we're going to put the reflections in. So this is where you need your greens. And you don't need to use more than one green. We're just gonna use the main green that you had. If you need to mix it up again, mix it up again. And remember, it's yellow with a little tiny bit of black. We want to get the kind of medium green that most of the trees are. So you want to do a tiny bit of black into this yellow. Now obviously that's not enough, so I'm going to put a little more black. So you always go, remember, from the dark color to the light color, because if you try to take your yellow and mix it in with your black, it'll take you forever to get a nice green color because black is so strong. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your brush that's got green paint on it, and you're going to start here where your trees are, and you're just going to go down like this, but don't make it regular. Just go like this. Don't worry that your paint's wet. You want it to be wet. This is going to be our reflections in the lake. You're just going to come down like this. We're just going to have a hint. It's not a mirror reflection. We don't have to mirror the trees exactly. And then, to make it look like the lake, you're going to take white with your, you can use your detail brush if you're more comfortable, or you can just use your flat brush. I'm using my flat brush. But you want to come along here where the edge of the lake is, and you want to just put in a little bit of white. Okay, so you're just going like this where your reflection hits the water. So it's kind of halfway in between your greens. And you're just going to go across the lake like that. And then you can just do a little bit of streaking across your reflection. Just a little. We'll come back and put some more in a little while. But for right now, you're just going across like this. So we're creating the shoreline. So you just take white and you're just going to go up here like this, and then you can kind of brush it down a little so it looks like it's, you know, just kind of coming down the top of the mountain a little bit. Then put a little more. Oh, that's on top of my tape. That doesn't matter. So you just basically want to do that. Now that you can blend a little bit with your finger too if you want to. This middle-sized mountain here that I have is probably just going to have a tiny little bit right here. This one will have a little more because he's higher. So it's up to you how much snow you put on your mountains, but you can put as little or as much as you want, but you want to kind of blend it down along the bottom a little bit, so that it looks like it's lighter, because it so just go up and do that to your mountains. Just wherever you want to have a ridge where there might be some snow on it, just do that. If your first coat of snow isn't super white, don't worry about it. We'll come back and hit it later. What you want to do is you can take your turquoise that you used and you can add it to white and make it paler. So you make it paler with your brush, and then you're just going to float it along the water to get the edges, get ripples in. And you can also do it with a darker blue if you want to make parts of your lake look bluer. And remember how I said we were going to make a little patch here that looks white? You can do that down here on this corner. And what you can do with it is, in the water, it's going to be irregular, and it's going to like come out here and then go this way and that way, and it'll be all white along in here. Remember, it's water, so it's not going to have a hard edge to it. It's just going to kind of drift out here where the light is hitting the water. And then you can make a little more white streaks going up here like this. Just hit your brush real light, just barely touch the canvas, and just go back and forth with your different colors. The more layers you add to acrylic, and acrylic painting, the more interesting it gets, because the other colors kind of shine through. And then I'm just going to add little turquoise streaks in here. You can just lay your brush down a little bit too and let some of the paint come off of the brush. Okay, at this point we're going to do our ground in the front. 1 scoop of red, 1 scoop of yellow, and 1 scoop of blue. Try to make them as equal as you can. Now mine came out a little bit purple, so that means it needs some more yellow. Add a little bit of yellow to it. So try and make them as equal as you can, and then tell me if you end up with a color that looks, you know, too red or too purple or whatever, and I'll help you get it more to a more brown color. Okay, this needed a lot more. There, now I got a brown. This needed a lot more yellow. Maybe even a little more red. This is the shoreline that you're standing on looking across the lake. A tiny bit of black with a lot of white, sorry. And then you're going to add a tiny bit of yellow to that. Not much, just a little bit. And then you're going to start on the left-hand side of your tree, and you're going to go down like this. There you go. Okay, so this is, remember your colors will dry darker than what they look on when they're wet. So remember that. So we're going to go just down here like this, just paint it along. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, and you're going to do that on all of your tree trunks. So just go down the edge. You don't even have to paint the whole, you know, you can go ahead and paint the whole thing. Yeah, paint the whole thing this color. It's not the exact color that we want, but we're gonna, at least mine isn't. Mine's kind of a weird green, but I'm gonna fix it. So then what you do is you're gonna go back in and add a little more white over here to the side to make it lighter, to make it real light on this half, on the left hand half of your tree. I mean the right hand half of your tree. Kind of blend it in. And then you're going to take a tiny bit of black to make a slightly darker gray, and you're going to come up the other side with a darker color. And that's to give you the shadow. And you kind of blend it a little bit. So this is just a gray. You're just blending. Make sure you get the edge of your tree trunk straight. Blend it. And then I'm showing you on this one tree trunk, and then this is how you're going to do them all. Then you're going to take black, not straight black, but another dark gray, and you're going to put in little notches where the branches used to be when it was growing. So when you look at the tree, it looks like this. So see how I have the gray going across like that? So you just want to do black and gray. So this is the way we're going to do them all. And you also need to put a couple of skinny branches off here too. So just take your brush and just do a little skinny branch. It's going to mostly be covered up with leaves, so it doesn't need to be super perfect, but we just need to know there's some branches there. And you're going to do this with all your trees. Are going to be done exactly the same way. So I just put 2 or 3 branches on each one of them. Don't worry about it too much. And then I'm taking the darker black and I'm coming in and doing this. Just going like this along the edge. Like that, to make it stand out. And you can vary that color from, you know, kind of a medium gray to a black. It doesn't all have to be exactly the same color. And you can just do what I'm doing here, which is take your brush and go up like this, up the tree trunk, and then just zigzag out every so often. Because this is the little scars that are left on the trunk from when other branches grew up and stuff. That's why the tree trunks look, as the branches fall off, they leave these little marks on the trunk. So you can come back in and do this. And this is what we're doing on all the trees. Same thing on all 3 of them. So what I'm doing is I'm having a little bit of black and a little bit of gray on my brush at the same time, and then when I do my brush stroke I get a little bit of a variation on there. So okay. So you can see how this picture kind of takes shape. We started at the very back, which was the sky. Then we did the mountains and the faraway trees. And then we did the water and the dirt. And now we're doing the trees that are in the front that will have the most detail on them. And you just turn your brush a little sideways like this and just wiggle a little branch in there. Okay, we need to work on the leaves, so you see how to do those, and then you can always go, you know, finish your tree trunks and stuff later if you need to. The leaves are really easy, and they're actually probably the most fun part of the painting. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix, let's see, okay, we got about 10 minutes. That should be enough time to get you going on it, and then you can finish it later. So we're going to mix red and yellow and get a nice orange color. And we want a kind of a darker orange color, so we don't want as much yellow to begin with. We're going to add more yellow later, but right now we just want to get a dark orange color. Kind of like, well, that's still a little too red, so I'm going to add a little more yellow to it. Okay, there, that's a nice orange color. Then you just use your flat brush, and you're just going to start, and we'll start with the ground because there's leaves all over the ground. So you got paint on your flat brush, and you're just going to hold it like this, straight up and down, and you're just going to start dabbing in some leaves. Now don't make them solid, but you just want to cover your ground pretty well because these are like leaves that have fallen off the trees. They don't have to be leaf shaped or anything, you just want to dab them in here. This is your first layer of leaves. And it's just get into the tapping motion, let the paint be thick and thin as it wants to be, because that'll intensify your colors and everything. And we're going to do this. Oh yeah, and one other thing we were going to do too that I almost forgot is we're putting in a couple of little tiny orange trees over here on the shoreline too, and you're going to do them the same way except just barely tap with the corner of your brush like this. Okay, so you just want to put in a couple of trees, little bushes over here in front of the pine trees, just to break them up a little bit. So make sure you get those in there. And just tap them in, and then we're going to come back and hit them with some yellow so they'll stand out a little more. But put them in there. Just wherever you want to put some is fine. So you're going to lay down that orange down there, and then you're going to go up here and you're going to start putting in leaves on your trees. Same thing, except you're going to be just tapping like this with your orange. Make it a little bit and just tap it and do it randomly. So you want it to look like branches of a tree, but you don't want it to look like little balls of leaves either. So you just want to randomly tap them in like this. So this is the first layer of leaves. Go do some over here on the other side. Got them too solid right there. That was not good. And you can, once you've got an orange layer in there, then you take some yellow and add it into your orange to get a lighter orange color. And you do the same thing. You just go down here and you just add in lighter orange. Okay. And it'll kind of mix in where your paint is still wet. That's fine. That's what you want it to do. And this is just the part where you can just have some fun. You just load color onto your brush and just dab away. Now you can see here I'm picking up a little more yellow. That was kind of an accident because I didn't mix it too well, but it doesn't matter because we're eventually going to yellow anyway. So do orange. The reason we do yellow last is because we get some of the yellow or the orange and the red colors down, and then the yellow stands out against them. So what you want to do is just go over where you already put leaves on and just add color here. Kind of like we were adding the layers on the trees, now we're the pine trees, now we're adding layers on here. But you don't want to totally cover up your dark color, so do it kind of in between and on top, and just keep it going. And then when you're through with that color, you add some more yellow, or even go into straight yellow if you want to, and you just do yellow on top. So that's how you get your leaves. And like I said, this is something that you can keep working on, adding your leaves, and then what I did with my other painting was, even after it was all over, I went in and was adding some more stuff to the water so that I could get it fixed the way I wanted it to be. And also, while you're adding this yellow there, go to the trees here that we did back in the back and just tap in a little bit of yellow on them too. So you see how that looks? Just tap in a little bit of yellow on those leaves. Just do this. And that makes them stand out a little bit too. But you don't want them to be super bright because that brings them forward in the painting. And if you want to, you can do a little bit of yellow in the reflection underneath them. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to stop in a minute and look at everybody's paintings, because I know Nancy needs to go pretty quick. And we'll see where you are. And then you can do what we did last week, and that is kind of finish up and on your own, and then post them. Thank you all for posting your pictures, by the way. It's very helpful, and I think it's encouraging to other people who might want to paint too, to see the different kinds of paintings we get, and you know, that kind of stuff. Plus, sharing with each other in the class is fun, because you've all been painting it together, so to see how it comes out differently is a fun thing, I think. So you can see what I'm doing here. Now, once your orange is dry down there, and I'll put this in the video, so I'm going to post the video in case you need to go back and check anything we did, we're going to put a tiny bit of grass around down there where the leaves are too, and that's just a real easy brush stroke, which I'll show you in a second here. So you just keep doing this. So you can add as much color to your trees if you want to. If you want it to be a little bit lighter in some spots, you can add a tiny bit of white to your orange and make it a slightly paler orange in spots. If your mountains are showing through too much, you might have to go give it, you know, another layer. But you want to get lots of color down here. And that's basically the picture. It's just a matter of the painting. It's just a matter of adding in the details that you want to add in. I've showed you all the techniques. So all you have to do is go in and apply them and fix it however, you know, complete it however you want to complete it. So it's one of the nice things about you all having your own paints at home and stuff, is that you can keep working on it until it looks like you want it to look. Okay, so you see how I'm dabbing in yellow on there now, and that's really making it pop a little more. So you want to get some yellow on top of that orange and make it, otherwise it looks pretty dark. And aspens are pretty much yellow and orange when they change. I put that thing on Facebook today, which I thought was so interesting. All I did was type in what color do aspens turn in the fall? And it came up with this thing, and it explained why they change color. But it said that they are always this color. The leaves are always this color. But what happens in the fall is that when the days get shorter and they don't get as much sunlight, the green disappears. And so then you see this color. And I thought, how cool is that? They're always red and orange, and we don't even know it until, you know, the green disappears. This is another really cool thing about the way our world is set up, I'll tell you. Okay, so let me show you how to do the grass. So you want to do yellow, and in this case we'll do yellow and blue to make your green. We'll make it a little brighter green, so just do yellow and blue. Get a nice green like this. Make it a little more yellow. And I would add a tiny bit of white to it, and the only reason I'm adding white to it is to make it not transparent. Otherwise, with that much yellow, it's going to be a very transparent green. So you're just going to start down here where your trees are, and you're just going to do this stroke again. Remember the up and down stroke, and you just go like this with your leaves. You can add in a little more yellow, or with your grass. Just do it over here in front of your tree trunks a little bit, like that. You can make it as thick as you want. You can also go like this with your brush kind of sideways and fill it in a little bit that way, and then do some individual blades on top of it like this to give it more depth and texture. And I actually carried it across over here. It's kind of growing right there in front of the lake a little bit too. Okay, so you can see how you do the grass around the trees. And then basically that's it. Then you're done.